So what was the community mix like and how did you adjust to it?
Trying to think back now, I think it was very Caribbean heavy. Probably had a few European families in there, but very Caribbean heavy. Everybody helped everybody out. Mum was working early mornings, and I think one of the neighbours used to come and look after us before we went to school. So Mum would get up and go to work. She worked at Lucas's. Dad worked PJ Evans, I think, at the time. And an older person would just come and make sure we got ready for school and send us off to school in the morning. So you started looking after yourself really young. And I think from Jamaica as well, because you're independent from 6 on, you're in Jamaica. You're already a cook and a wash and a rubbing the floor on a Saturday morning. So you're quite independent anyway from that age. So yeah, that was nice. The community was lovely. The kids could go out and play together and everybody just got on with each other and looked out for each other. Everybody looked out for each other a lot.
So how did you cope with the language issues?
Well, the patois, which I thought was English, was patois, and nobody understood what I was saying half the time, and dropping out these words that when you're 9, it's just what you'd heard other people say. And then as you go to school, you realise that you can't say that because people aren't understanding what you're saying. You can't articulate yourself as well. So then you just sort of slow down and start to grow in that community, really. And I think my mother was like, you can't chat like that, you're in England, no, talk properly.
What was it like for you then, now that you're the eldest of these 2 younger brothers in this different family structure?
I think trying to understand that you're the eldest of other boys or other family members that you didn't know. And it's almost like, do they like me? Have I taken up space from where they had before? There was only him. They were sharing with one other sibling. Another one's now come up, taking up more space. Is there a resentment there? And I don't know. Sometimes I do think, was there any resentment there? It's not stuff we've ever talked about, but I do think about it sometimes. And it must be hard. It must have been difficult for them as well, as 2 brothers. And just been told this girl child's coming and she's going to be in charge of you.
Do you feel any resentment?
I can't say I do, really. I'm very grateful for what my mum did, and as I've got older and had my own children, I've realised how difficult it must have been for her to give up her life that she knew in Jamaica, to come to England and start a new life, and to work. I mean, because there weren't that many jobs about back in the late 60s, to work, start a new family, and then still have space to bring another one in to blend that family together. So, no, I wouldn't say there was. I wouldn't say I was resentful. There was times I was scared. Maybe I was scared, but just because I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, didn't know what was going on. But no, I'm just really grateful for my mom and what's been my dad all my life, really, since I was 9, for what they've done and the opportunities they've offered, really, and for my mom recognising the fact that she could create a better life for me if I came to England. I mean, she would have only been a young 20s, 22, 23 herself. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think if I put myself in her shoes in those days, how would I have coped with that situation? Would I have been brave enough to up sticks in Jamaica and come to Foreign to create a new life? Because that's all they always called it, Foreign, didn't they?
So what were your memories, your recollections about the barrels arriving from Foreign?
Yeah, I would have probably had clothes that come from England, and I'd have been running around the neighbourhood thinking I'm all the bee's knees. But yeah, you were just excited, weren't you? And I think Mum would have sent stuff back to Jamaica to her mum to help look after me, really. And I think they used to send money back as well to support and do those upkeeping. So she would have had quite a difficult time, really. She's got 2 kids and a husband here, and she's trying to support another child in Jamaica. So yeah, I do remember the barrels coming and something coming out the barrel for me. Elaine, this one from your mother. Yeah. And like I said, I don't remember ever having a photograph of her because it wasn't the things that was done then in the 60s, really.
Did you know what was going on at the time?
No idea. I was just with I held this lady's hand that took me off the plane, and I just came out, and this woman was looking for some little black girl with some pigtails and red and white ribbons. And then I hugged this woman. It could be a stranger. It could be a stranger for all I know. I might have had a letter or some sort of something. I would have definitely had something with me, but trying to remember back to those days, yeah. And it's a shame those aren't questions I can ask my mum now with her situation, but it's one of those things, that's life.
So how did you adjust to school?
I think I just sort of got on, and I was quite compliant, I think, as a child. I think I was quite compliant. I never really argued or asked many questions. I just got on. I was told to, this, you're going to school, this is where it's at. And I remember it just being down the road. Was it Dudiston Manor I went to for my second year? And my primary school must have been Cromwell Primary. It wasn't. I'm remembering not being very far from the flat. We just walked down through the square, and we were just out through the gates. I think we could hear the bell from the flat. Actually, we were always late for school. we were always so close. We used to be late for school. And one of the things I remember as well, it's going to. I think this would have probably been secondary school. No, it would have been. I would have still been primary school when we went for swimming lessons, and I was like, "I'm from Jamaica. I've been in the water. I'm always swimming. Can you swim? Yes, I can swim." And I remember jumping into the pool. Lord of mercy, someone had to fish me out, because what you call swimming in Jamaica, when you're just walking up and splashing about in a pool, is not jumping in a pool and having to put your arms out. Yeah, I remember almost drowning in the pool because I told him I could swim, and I had no idea what I was doing.
How did you mix in with the community?
The community where they lived, like I said, it was very, very Caribbean orientated. Most people knew where everybody came from in Jamaica. A lot of people was from probably the same area or from another parish in Jamaica. So everybody really supported each other. And I remember my mum doing something called, is it Pardoner, where you put a little bit of money in and then you save for that and you buy something else next month or in 6 months' time. And that was a community as well. That was a community because it was... Then nobody went to the banks. They didn't use a bank. So as a kid, there was all these people came to the house and exchanged money. I don't know what that was for. But as you got on later in life, you understood it was a saving scheme, and it just helped everybody to be better people and to understand money better. And all the kids, we all ran around and just played together as children, looked out for each other. Like I said, if mum and dad weren't loads, so there was always someone that would come in and look after us, or we'd go and have something to eat at Auntie Gloria's house. Auntie Gloria, we still go and see her now. She's lovely, and she reminds me a lot of the stuff I used to do as a little picnic. Come over, fresh from Jamaica. She remembers so much of this stuff, and it's nice. And I've tried to make an effort of rekindling these things as well, because, like I said, mum doesn't remember much of it. But trying to go back as a child, that was good. There was still that freshness of being a kid as well in those days. Still that freshness of being a kid and playing out in the square or going down the park.
So what was it like then when you moved and your mum and dad bought their own house?
I think there was a lot of relatives in Wolverhampton, so a lot of the family was stretching to Wolverhampton as well. And I think mum and dad was probably the younger of those community. And I think mum wanted to go to Selly Oak or somewhere, and the solicitor at the time that used to look after all the auntie's properties said, you don't want to go to Selly Oak, you want to go to Elzoin. It's the up and coming area. And if you speak to my mum now, she might have Alzheimer's, but every time you mention Elzoin, Mr. Farrow said Elzoin is the up and coming area. So we moved to Elzoin. I was coming into my 14th birthday. Mum and dad had bought this place. It was March, it was snowy, it was very cold, and we'd moved to this big fancy house. So we'd come off the flats and we had a garden, we had a front drive, and I had my own room, and just all those things that now that you actually think about, it's quite nice to appreciate those things. And mum and dad worked really, really hard. I mean, 75 they moved to Elzoin. No. I came over in 75 and then, yeah. So it would have been late 70s, maybe 79, I think we moved to Elzoin. They probably paid, £14,000 for their property that they have now. And they've lived there forever. They've lived there all that time. Yeah. No, they've lived there all that time. And it's where we grew up as kids. where we had family parties, Christmas gatherings, Christmas Day. We used to have all the cousins from Wolverhampton, London, you know, like Jamaica, but in a sealed, very cold house on the 25th of January, 25th of December. Yeah. But that was, again, and then that was new schools, new people to meet, different environments. My English was better. And yeah, just developed. And I think I was really big into sports as well then. So that took me on a drive as well. And I fitted in better with schools, things that was going on at school. But yeah, I'm actually really proud of my mum and dad, to be fair. It warms me inside the more I think about it now. They did well, worked hard to provide for the kids.